Good morning. Welcome to Stock Market Today. It's Wednesday, March 20th, 2019. I am your host, Dan Russo, the Chief Market Strategist at Chaikin Analytics. Find me on Twitter. I'm at Dan Russo _CMT. If you're on StockTwits, I'm there as well. Same handle. That's at Dan Russo _CMT. Stock Market Today brought to you today and every day by Chaikin Analytics. And if you head over to chaikinanalytics.com/today, you can sign up for a free email. Follow along with this show, as well as receive daily stock ideas to consider in your inbox every day before the market opens. So U.S. equities were mostly lower in Tuesday's trading. Utilities, financials, and industrials were the worst performers. Healthcare, discretionary, and tech were the only sectors to finish higher. Treasuries were mostly weaker, with the curve steepening. The dollar was slightly weaker against the euro and sterling, but flat on the yen cross. Gold finished up 40 basis points, and WTI crude settled down 20 basis points. So your outperformers: healthcare, discretionary, tech, utilities, financials, industrials, energy, REITs, materials, underperformed on the day. And S&P futures this morning are flat after U.S. equities finished off their best levels of the day yesterday. Remember, we rallied in the morning and then kind of pulled back in the afternoon. Some commentary on trade. So a bit of a volatile day there. We closed off the best levels. Asian markets were mixed overnight. Japan outperformed while China ended the day flat. European markets are mostly weaker this morning. Treasury stronger across the curve. Dollar is stronger versus the yen and sterling, flat against the euro. Gold down 30 basis points, and WTI crude is mostly unchanged. Now, we're going to hear from the Fed today. FOMC is expected to leave their rate policy unchanged, but investors will have a close eye on the statement and the dot plot, trying to discern if the Fed will raise rates once this year or meet the market's view of no further hikes. So that all eyes will be on the Fed later today. But if we look at the market, we can see we hold the breakout but faded from the highs. That was yesterday's action. Breakout, we held above, we continue to hold above, but we did fade from the highs. So support 2750 to 2775. Then down below, resistance 2785, 2900 for the S&P 500. RSI remains in bullish ranges. Chaikin money flow is bullish but waning. So there's something to keep an eye on as the market kind of, after this strong acceleration, we're seeing money flow kind of diminish a bit. Remember, money flow is a moving average, and what's important there is where stocks close within their daily range, right? So we want to see stocks closing higher and at the high end of the range. That is a bullish indicator for the market. But so far, it remains bullish. We're just keeping an eye on it. RSI remains in bullish ranges. Wouldn't be surprised to see a little bit of a consolidation here, especially this morning here as everybody waits for the Fed. Now, your market in a minute. Stocks closed mixed after losing early gains. SPY and QQQ enter overbought conditions, and that we'll talk about what that means in the context of our overbought, oversold indicator. Investors await the FOMC statement later today. We hit on that. Relative weakness in materials reemerges. We'll take a look at what that means and a potential trade idea. Futures point to a flattish open today. So as we look at the power bars for the major market indices, all still remain skewed to the bullish side, right? Dow relatively flat on the day, 8 bulls to 4 bears. S&P 500, 136 bulls, 64 bears. NASDAQ, 30 bulls, 13 bears. And small caps underperformed on the day yesterday. 434 bullish or very bullish stocks, 325 bearish or very bearish stocks. There's that slight downtick in the price of bonds, down 22 basis points, sending yield slightly higher on the day. According to the Chaikin Power Bar, large cap stocks and small cap stocks are bullish. Major markets as a whole are mixed. Taking a look now at our stock of the day. As I said, we always give you a stock idea to consider, not something you should just run out and buy per se. We want to run through the analysis. Today's stock is PNC Financial Services, one of the banks, ticker symbol PNC, closed at 129.48, down 1.82% yesterday. So big underperformer on the banking side. Chaikin Power Gauge rating for PNC is very bullish due to very positive expert activity, attractive financial metrics, strong price volume activity. And when we roll up the 20 factors that fall into these 4 categories, we come out with that very bullish rating. So start at the top, right? How do we do it? What is the strategic setup, and then what is the tactical setup? From the strategic standpoint, we have a very bullish stock with a strong trend and a strong industry group, but we're not there. Why? Underperformance. Relative to the SPY, this stock has been an underperformer and predominantly been an underperformer for the majority of the past 12 months. couple blips of outperformance here and there, but for the most part, persistently underperforming the market. So the market and model are not in agreement. Dynamic duo not in gear. Add to that the fact the stock is overbought based on our overbought oversold indicator. Now, Chaikin money flow has been oscillating between bullish and bearish, now on a bullish rating. Stock has moved above the long-term trend line, which is trying to shift from declining to flat, but we still have a steady downtrend in prices. I mean, 1, 2, 3, right? Series of lower highs, series of lower lows. That is your textbook definition of a downtrend. Might that trend be changing? Yes, but in my opinion, it's too early to say. Especially now, we're going to look at the S&P 500 trading into overbought conditions. Just don't think this is the type of name you want to own today. Type of name you want to consider. I think you want to add it to a watch list. And watch lists are so important because there are ideas that come at you and you may forget about them. Add them to a watch list. And then when they meet the criteria for getting involved, you can get involved either on the long side or the bearish side of the coin. We can add PNC to a watch list, but nothing to do here today as far as I am concerned. Now, our sector tracker, looking at the movement of the major sectors, excuse me, over the last 5 days. Tech, top of the list. We like to see that. Largest weight in the S&P 500. I say it over and over again because it's important. Discretionary and healthcare round out the top 3. Now, financials have been strong over the past 5 days, but gave some back yesterday. Energy, we've had a big focus on this one because downside momentum in energy has been waning. We're keeping an eye to see if there's a turn. Right now, it's not there yet, but it's not the layup bearish trade that it was. Staples and industrials and materials in the middle of the list. Materials, though, starting to concern me. Real estate, comms, and utilities. Now, your defensive groups have moved to the bottom of the list here. They've become overbought. I've spoken about real estate and utilities. From a secular kind of trend perspective, it looks good. But in the near term, real estate and utilities are overbought. We want to give those some time to consolidate before looking at those names again on the long side of the portfolio, right? Remember, there's strategic and then there's tactical. Our industry in focus today is biotech services, and I'm going to caveat it right off the bat. When you're looking at these biotech names, be aware of what they have coming down the pipeline. Be aware of potential catalysts, because these small biotech stocks that have drugs in the clinic, an announcement at any moment can move these stocks 30, 40, 50%. So biotech services as a group has underperformed the S&P 500 by 2.25% over the past 6 months. And the Powerball ratio, which measures a future potential, is weak. 26 bearish or very bearish stocks, 13 bullish or very bullish stocks, gets that a rank of 17 of the 21 subsectors that we track. It has moved up 1 slot over the past week, but some of the indicative names there, BioCryst, BCRX, Neurocrine Biosciences, NBIX, and Flexion Therapeutics, FLXN, all have very bearish Chaikin power gauge ratings. And remember, in a model like ours that puts a lot of weight on financials and earnings, a lot of these biotech stocks, these early stage biotech stocks, just are not going to screen well. That's just something to consider when you're looking at these ratings. And again, you want to consider what they have in their pipeline. But if we're going to run through the analysis, Neurocrine certainly looks like the type of name we want to avoid. Very bearish stock, weak trend, below a falling long-term trend line. Market and model are in agreement. Stock's been on a bearish rating since last October, been underperforming the market since early November. Now, the stock is overbought with bearish money flow below this trend line. Type of name where we would normally look to open a bearish position. If you choose to open a bearish position here, as I said, just be aware of potential announcements that could move the stock substantially once that news is released. If you've taken that step and feel comfortable with a bearish position in the stock, then the setup is there based on our process. To me, I prefer looking at biotechs as a group rather than a one-off, because it is really hard to get a read on the pipeline and potential announcements. That's just how I look at it. Everybody is different from an investing perspective. So I urge you to follow your process, but within the context of ours, NBIX is a name that we do not want to consider. Trending stocks now, yesterday's S&P 500 gainers and losers. AMD is going to be providing the chips for Google's cloud gaming service that was announced. That sent that stock higher by 11.83%. NVIDIA had an analyst day, sent the stock higher by 4%. DaVita came under pressure the previous couple of days, seeing a bit of a rebound, up 3.5%. Some bullish comments out of the sell side sent Cigna higher by 3.4%. Activision also moving higher on that Google announcement. ATVI up 3.22% on the day. Loser side of the board, some comments from analysts on sales decelerating at Monster. Sent that stock lower by 4.4% yesterday. The stock did catch a downgrade today. Freight shipment data from JBH Hunt sent that stock down 3.5%. UNP caught a downgrade, down 3.3%. Fifth Third just week with the financials in the banking sector, down 3.27%. Vertex, VRTX, caught a downgrade to send that stock lower by 3.05%. So now let's look at the broader markets. On Wednesdays, I do kind of a midweek market update for Chaikin Analytics clients. Let's take a look at the SPY here. SPY is overbought at Chaikin Analytics. What do I mean by that? This is our proprietary overbought, oversold indicator. You've heard me talk about it. Now, it's designed to become overbought and oversold regardless of the market environment. So context becomes important. Because it's designed to become overbought and oversold even in choppy activity like this, what we want to do is identify the trend and then identify where we are within that trend, right? So how do we do that? We have this long-term trend line here, which is higher, and price is above it. So SPY is in an uptrend. However, within the context of that uptrend, we are overbought. We want to get aggressive on the long side of the portfolio when the SPY is oversold within the context of an uptrend, right? So about 2 weeks ago, when we pulled back and became oversold within the context of this uptrend, that was a great opportunity to get involved on the long side. Now might be an opportunity to manage some risk. If you have some lower conviction ideas on the long side of your portfolio, could be an idea. I trim them. If their power gauge ratings have changed from, say, bullish to neutral, might be a good idea to trim them. Note, too, that as we said for the S&P 500, Chaikin money flow is waning from these extremely bullish readings, which we saw earlier in the year. So it's not a sell signal. It's within context. We're overbought within the context of an uptrend. Same with the Qs, right? Here, though, they've been outperforming, right? So we've liked the Qs. We've liked technology and some of the growth names within the market, but we are overbought within the context of this uptrend. Again, you want to buy stocks or get aggressive on the long side when we become oversold within the context of an uptrend. When we're overbought, you become less aggressive. You prune some of the weaker names, some of the lower conviction names in the portfolio. Here's a great example. Right through most of 2018, Qs were in an uptrend. When we became oversold within the context of that uptrend, those were the really good buying opportunities. And same on the downside. When we were in a downtrend, overbought within the context of a downtrend was a great opportunity to trim positions or open bearish trades. So everything has to be taken in context. SPY and Qs overbought within the context of an uptrend. Materials weakness reasserting to the downside. Relative weakness in materials below the 200-day moving average, continuing to move lower here. What's bothering me is this RSI series of lower highs, to me, opens the door for a retest of the lows on a relative basis. And notice that on an absolute basis, group's been having trouble breaking out. Materials, just not getting there. We've been watching them as downside momentum was waning, but I'm just not there yet. And now underperformance is beginning to reassert itself. So materials is a group we want to continue to avoid and potentially look for bearish opportunities in bearish and very bearish stocks when they become overbought. Right? A name that I'm highlighting today is CF Industries, and I'm going to show it today in the context of stockcharts.com and their scooter rating. But we can see here on an absolute basis, CF is below the 200-day moving average. Chaikin overbought, oversold indicator is overbought. And look at the underperformance based on the scooter rating at stockcharts.com. And we've had persistently bearish money flow for CF really since the October timeframe. So type of name where you want to consider a bearish position, or at the very least, not the type of name that you want to own. That's going to wrap it up for today. Sign up for that email, chaikinanalytics.com/today. Get daily stock ideas in your inbox for you to consider every day before the market opens. I will be back here tomorrow as always. Have a great Wednesday, everyone. I'll see you tomorrow.